easy lesson today. We're only going to talk about imperfect and future passive today. And passive is what's going to occupy most of our time through the rest of the year. Now, English uses helping verbs to differentiate between the tenses. I had eaten, I have eaten, I was eating, I will eat. Each of those tells you, when you hear it, what tense I'm talking about. Now, most of the time, Latin uses tense markers, and we use ba or ba for the imperfect, bo for future. So that helps you understand too what tense is it in. Now, imperfect and future passive tenses have markers as well. And as you would not be surprised, imperfect passives use the marker ba. Okay? And the only thing different about imperfect passive is in the third, fourth conjugation, the normal weak E just becomes a strong E. So make sure you have your chart books out. You're going to fill in all conjugations. This is the same for all conjugations of the imperfect passive. So we've got bar, baris, bater, bomber, bomini, banter. So can you see how similar imperfect passive is to present passive? So when you translate these verbs, they'll have a was or a were when translating. So you can see the mer, mini, inter, right, ter, ris, but they've got this extra marker on them. So it's not a lot to learn. Now, they have a was or a were when they're translating, and these are the ways they can be translated. You could say was, were plus the verb in ed, was, were being plus the verb in ed, or used to be the verb in ed. Used is not a perfect, it is an imperfect. All right, so let's look at a couple. So if I said educabamer, here's our we were educated. Our second option is we were being educated, or we could say we used to be educated. Now, let me give it to you in a full sentence. Equus a racone consume batur. The night, here we go, here's our night, here's our nominative, here's our ablative phrase, was consumed by a dragon, or the night was being consumed by a dragon. So we've got was with an ed, or the was being. I don't know that I'd say the night used to be consumed by a dragon. That one doesn't make sense here, but those are the different ways. Oh, one other thing. Do you remember how I know that we were educated is passive? Because remember, to any of these sentences, if we add, if it doesn't have a by in it, and you can add by zombies to the end, remember, then that's how you know that it's passive. All right, future passive. Now, these are your two charts, your future passive first and second conjugation verbs, and here's your third IO, and fourth conjugation verbs. Make sure that you've got them in there. Now, these endings look a little bit like future tense endings. They've got with a bow, but they've got, remember, the bow or the bit, close, bunt. Just like future, they look a little bit like the future tense bo, bis, bit, bimus, bitis, is, bunt. And then the future passive is ar, a, ris, a, tur, a, mer, a, mini, a, enter. And they look a little bit like the third and fourth conjugation future tense endings, a, ace, ace, et, emus, etis, and a little bit. So look, try to find the similarities in the patterns. Notice that these do not have the marker bo or be, but guess what? Also, regular fourth conjugation that's active, not passive, they also don't have those markers as well. So for all conjugations, you form the passive exactly like you do for the active, except you add the passive endings at the end. So there's only one way to translate a future passive verb, and that's as a will be plus the verb. So if I said widibor, I will be seen. And you remember about video, the special thing that we added last week is you can do the word seem. In the passive, I will seem, I will be seen, or I will seem, and then you'd add, angry or frustrated or joyful, that kind of thing. So seem and seen. And then persuasive mini, y'all will be persuaded. So the only thing that you can add, translate is will be plus the verb. And even though it has an ed on it, does not make it a perfect verb, right? It just makes it good English grammar. So fores a sacerdotibus ignoscentur. The thieves, fores, will be forgiven, ignoscentur, by the priest. So here we've got a by in here. That helps us know that it's passive. Y'all would be persuaded into either of these. They don't have a by, so we could add zombies, and that clarifies. That is passive. Seem is a little bit different. We can't add by zombies to it, but it is still passive. Okay, so what I want to do is I want to show you what we have learned so far with 3 different verbs. Remember, this is third, this is fourth, and this is regular first conjugation. So you can see that in first, second, and third, you can see all the ways that we've translated. And if you want some practice, which would be a really good idea, is to pause this, make your own sheets and practice, and then turn it back on and take a look and see how you are doing it. When you remember, we are spared, we are being spared. So remember, there's 2 different ways to do it. Future only has a will be and a future tense. So it's just a matter of recognizing the endings, learning the endings, and then practicing it. It's going to feel awkward just putting things in passive, because most of your English teachers, good writing is not writing in passive all the time, so we don't use it as much, so it feels weird off our tongue. So it's a matter of just practicing it.